Good morning, everyone. We are moving into Module 4, General Safety and Building Services. This is Chapter 10 of NFPA 1, and honestly, it's one of the most lived-in chapters of the code. It is the stuff the inspectors see every single day. Evacuation drills, cooking equipment, address signage, vacant buildings. If chapters 1 through 9 build the foundation, chapter 10 is where the code meets operations, daily operations. You should keep your participant workbook open and the standard open, because we will be referencing the sections and the workbook constantly, and I want you to be comfortable navigating this chapter, not just memorizing the article numbers. Section 10.1 sets the baseline, compliance with NFPA 1 and NFPA 101, the life safety code. And for new construction, the adopted building code, often NFPA 5000 or an equivalent like the IBC. You see the layering on the slide. NFPA 1 doesn't operate alone. It is designed to work alongside NFPA 101 and the building code, filling operational gaps rather than duplicating them. When you are on an inspection and something feels like a building code issue, this is your reminder. We should cross-reference. We should not assume NFPA 1 covers everything by itself. 10.1.4.1 gives the AHG the real challenge. If you walk up to a building and see a visible damage, as you see on the picture, like a cracking, spalling, separation, you have the authority to require an engineering analysis. This isn't about you making a structural determination. It's about triggering the process. Section 10.2 is accountability framework. 4 pillars we have here: compliance with the code, notifying the AHG before any change of occupancy, abating unsafe conditions, and keeping required records. That second point trips people up. A change of occupancy isn't just a new tenant sign. It can trigger a completely different risk classification, maybe different code requirement, different inspection frequency even. So if an owner doesn't notify you, they have essentially bypassed the whole review process. And the next slide, we see a table coming straight out of NFPA 1730, and it is your scheduling backbone for existing occupancies. High risk is annually, moderate is every 2 years, a low risk classification has every 3 years. Critical infrastructure, that is determined by the AHG directly, because a water treatment plant or a power substation doesn't fit neatly into a standard risk bucket, as you know. These are special risk areas. And this is minimum. Nothing stops you to inspect more frequently based on history, complaints, or occupancy behavior. Okay, the table is your floor, not your ceiling. Section 10.4 covers 2 evacuation triggers. First, AHJ directed evacuation during an emergency or simply because a space is overcrowded beyond its posted capacity. Second, alarm activated evacuation. When the fire alarm goes off or a drill is called, people must leave. There are only 2 exceptions: an approved building fire evacuation plan says otherwise. Think stage relocation in a high rise. This is an example, or it's routine system testing and maintenance. Okay, these are the exceptions where you don't want the whole building evacuating every time a technician tests a pull station, for example. Section 10.5 is about training people, not just checking a box. Drills need to be designed in cooperation with local authorities. Fire department involvement matters in this case. The philosophy here is orderly evacuation over speed. We are not training people to sprint and panic. And here is the key detail I always emphasize: drills at expected times and unexpected times under varying conditions. So why? Because a drill that always happens, for example, at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday only tests people's memory, not their actual response. Relocation to a predetermined point and written records round this out. Okay. Before I give you the code definition, I want you to think about practically what is an emergency action plan. An emergency action plan isn't the fire alarm system or isn't the sprinkler system. Those are physical protection features. An emergency action plan is the organizational response. Who does what? In what order, when something goes wrong. Evacuation routes, assembly points, roles for staff, procedures for people with disabilities, and coordination with responders. You can throw your thoughts in chat. What would you include if you were writing one for your building where you are in right now? Okay, here is the answer to where it is required. Here it becomes mandatory, not optional. High rise, healthcare, ambulatory healthcare, residential boarding care, assembly, daycare, special amusement buildings, hotels, dormitories, detention and correctional, educational, underground and windowless structures, and anything under Chapter 60's hazardous materials provisions. Notice the common thread. These are occupancies where people either can't evacuate quickly, or don't know the building, or are especially vulnerable. And of course, the catch-all, the wherever AHG requires it, we need the emergency action plan. Okay, the last clause gives you discretion even outside the list of occupancies mentioned in the article. Okay, now we shift into open flame and outdoor fire control. I love barbecues, but we need to be careful doing that. The AHG can prohibit or restrict open flames, fireworks, candles, cooking fires, or any ignition source when conditions make it hazardous. Think drought conditions in the summer, dense vegetation, or a crowded event space. Outdoor fires in hazardous fire areas need a permit, full stop. Permanent or portable barbecues, outdoor fireplaces, grills, none of that is a substitute for a trash can. We cannot use that as a trash. Okay. And 10.10.6 is balcony specific article, and it's a common violation in multifamily and mixed use buildings. Anything other than 1 and 2 family dwellings. You cannot use Kindle or even store a hibachi, grill, or similar cooking heating device on a balcony. Under an overhang or within 10 feet of a structure. The reasoning is straightforward. Combustible balconies, close spacing between units, and radiant heat exposure to exterior walls. The exception is permanently installed listed equipment, installed per the manufacturer's instructions, of course, and applicable codes. That's engineered for the location, not improvised. So in that case, we have an exception. At 10.10.9.3, we have some nice unmanned, free-floating sky lanterns and similar devices. These are all prohibited. The hazard is obvious when you think about it. You are releasing an uncontrolled ignition source with no way to guarantee where it lands. Okay, that's a big risk, and we have seen these cause roof fires or dry vegetation fires miles from release point. That's a very bad thing that we are suffering with big forest fires and urban fires. Okay, the next part is 10.11.3. This is addressing the wayfinding during emergencies, specifically stair signage. Now, new enclosed stairs serving 3 or more stories need identification. Existing enclosed trays serving 5 or more stories needed 2. Notice the different thresholds for new versus existing. This is the difference that the code is giving us. And the sign tells you the stair designation, the discharges, the floor level, the range served, and whether there is a roof access and where the exit discharges are. Picture someone descending in smoke-filled conditions. That 60-inch high sign at each landing is often the only orientation they have when escaping. This is a life safety detail people underestimate always. 10.11.1.4 sounds administrative until you are the crew trying to find an address at 2 a.m. Applies to new and existing buildings alike. Telecommunication equipment transmitting address data to responders must be accurate and properly maintained. Think automatic alarm reporting. The address number's location must be AHG approved, and critically it must be visible and legible from the street. I always tell my friends, your address sign isn't decoration. It's a life safety device. Every second a crew spends searching for the right building name or number is a second not spent on the actual emergency. Okay. Now we are thinking about the vacant buildings. Before I answer, think about why this question even comes up. Vacant buildings attract trespassers, squatters, vandalism, and every one of those increases the fire risk with nobody inside to notice or respond. So think about it from a risk management lens, not just a code lookup lens. Before you answer, yes or no, do vacant buildings need to be barricaded? Think about what barricaded would even mean in practice, because the code is more specific than a simple yes. The section 10.12 governs exactly this scenario. The vacant buildings carry elevated risk, of course. Utilities may be uncontrolled, means of egress may be compromised, and there is often no one present to detect a fire in its earliest, most manageable stage. The code addresses securing the building against unauthorized entry, removing the combustible waste and hazardous conditions, and requiring the owners to maintain the property in a way that doesn't create an attractive nuisance. That building in the photo on the slide, offices to let, sitting empty, is a textbook example of what exactly what this section is written for. Thank you for your interest. This is all.